Let me ask you something real, not complicated, just honest. How many times have you started something, only to quit when it got uncomfortable? How many dreams are now just distant echoes, buried beneath excuses and delays? And how many goals have you left half-finished simply because you couldn't stay consistent? Now listen, this might hurt a little, but the gap between who you are and who you want to be, it's not talent, it's not luck, it's not some magical opportunity that you're waiting for. It's consistency, the quiet, relentless habit of showing up again and again, even when it's the last thing you feel like doing. We've all been there. In the beginning, everything feels exciting. You're motivated, driven, inspired. You're fired up after watching a great video, reading a powerful quote, or hearing someone say, "You've got this," and you believe it for a while. But then, the grind begins. Life gets noisy. Distractions come knocking. Obstacles start piling up, and slowly, that fire starts to flicker. So what do? We pause. We hesitate. We say, "I'll come back to it when I have more time, more energy, when things settle down." But here's the raw truth. That perfect moment, it rarely comes. If you're always waiting for the stars to align, you'll keep spinning in circles, full of potential but paralyzed by hesitation. The secret? Force yourself to show up, even when it's messy, even when it's hard. That's the essence of consistency. Because consistency is stronger than motivation. Motivation is a spark. It lights you up, gets you started, but it fades. And when it fades, what are you left with? A cold pile of ashes? Or a steady, slow-burning fire that doesn't die out when the winds of life pick up? That steady fire, that's consistency. It may not be flashy, but it's dependable. And in the end, it's the thing that will carry you across the finish line while everyone else burns out. Motivation is like the weather. Beautiful when it's sunny, but unpredictable. Sure, there will be days you leap out of bed ready to conquer the world. But most days, you'll wake up tired. You'll have a dozen excuses. Maybe the sky is gray. Maybe your body aches. Maybe yesterday hit you harder than you expected. And in those moments, motivation disappears. It walks out on you exactly when you need it most. That's why you can't count on it. Life will always throw curveballs. And if you keep waiting for the right mood, the right timing, the right vibe, you'll keep waiting forever. But consistency, it's a different beast. It doesn't ask how you feel. It doesn't negotiate. It just says, "We're doing this, no matter what." And that's where your breakthrough begins. Because the moment you stop waiting to feel ready and start choosing to act with discipline, you unlock a new version of yourself. Resilient, focused, unstoppable. It's like flipping a switch. You go from waiting to creating, from hoping to doing, from potential to progress. And that is how transformation begins. So here's the truth that builds on what we just talked about. It's not about waiting to feel ready. It's about making your actions non-negotiable, like brushing your teeth or breathing. No debates, no excuses. Just do it. Think about it for a moment. Look at anyone who's risen to greatness. Elite athletes, visionary artists, world-class leaders. What do they all have in common? It's not unlimited motivation. It's not perfect circumstances. It's their relentless ability to show up. Every single day, even when they're tired, even when the world feels heavy, even when the rewards are months or years away, they've turned consistency into their greatest ally. It's not that they don't face setbacks, they do. It's not that they don't feel fear or self-doubt, they absolutely do. But here's the difference. They've trained themselves, mentally, emotionally, physically, to push through the discomfort, to take action when others stall, to keep climbing when the hill gets steep. That's the raw power of consistency. It doesn't just help you keep going. It rewires your brain. It reshapes your identity. Because when something becomes a habit, when you've done it so often that not doing it feels wrong, you've entered a different league. Missing a workout? It's not a relief. It feels like betrayal, like you're letting yourself down. Skipping a writing session or a hard conversation? It doesn't feel like a break. It feels like a crack in your character. That's the invisible thread that separates the ones who hit their goals from the ones who don't. The winners weave consistency into the fabric of their identity. They don't just do the work. They become the kind of person who always shows up for the work. But let's be real. Building that level of consistency? It's not glamorous. It's not exciting. No one's cheering for you when you wake up at 5 a.m. to hit the gym or stay up late to finish what you started. But that's okay, because discipline doesn't need applause. Discipline is about doing what must be done, regardless of who's watching. It's the invisible strength, the quiet fuel that powers consistency. And like any muscle, discipline grows stronger the more you use it. The more you show up, the easier it becomes to show up again. Not because it's easy, but because it's part of you now. Let's take a moment to talk about that phrase. Showing up. It sounds simple. But that's half the battle. Most people quit before they even start. They let emotions win before action even begins. They tell themselves, not today, and suddenly, it's been a month. But you must be different. You must show up when it's inconvenient. Show up when you're tired. Show up when you'd rather stay in bed or give in to distraction. Because those moments, the hard ones, those are what build champions. Anyone can show up when the sun is shining. But can you show up when the sky is gray and your spirit is low? That's the test that divides average from exceptional. And when you do that, when you pass that test again and again, you begin to build something that can't be bought or borrowed. Momentum. One action builds on another, and slowly, without realizing it, you create a wave that starts carrying you forward. That momentum, it's unstoppable. It propels you through the tough days. And soon you've invested so much, time, energy, sweat, sacrifice, that giving up feels like throwing away a piece of who you are. And that's when it happens. You're no longer someone who's trying to stay consistent. You've become someone who simply is. So yes, showing up is essential, but showing up with purpose, that's what transforms effort into excellence. You see, it's not just about clocking in hours or doing your time. It's about how you use that time. It's about being intentional with your thoughts, with your energy, with every action you take. Because going through the motions won't cut it. You can't just check boxes and expect transformation. You have to be fully present, even when the task feels boring, or repetitive, or hard, especially then. Consistency isn't about becoming a machine. It's not about blind repetition or robotic effort. It's about being relentless with your focus, even when no one's watching. It's about pushing to get just a little bit better. One rep, one line, one choice at a time. And here's something we don't say often enough. Consistency doesn't always give you quick wins. In fact, most of the time, it looks like nothing is happening. Progress feels slow. Results feel invisible. But here's the truth. Every effort you make is a seed. And like any seed, it takes time. You don't plant a seed today and harvest fruit tomorrow. You water it. You nourish it. You protect it, even when the soil still looks bare. And one day, without warning, it sprouts. And suddenly, all those invisible efforts start to bloom. But only if you were patient enough to stay the course. Only if you didn't walk away too soon. That's where so many people fall short. They start strong. They plant the seeds. But when they don't see instant results, they give up. They abandon the garden before the first flower has a chance to bloom. Don't be that person. Understand this. Consistency is a long game. It's not flashy. It's not viral. But it's real. And it works. Motivation may get you started. But consistency is what keeps you going when motivation has left the room. It's what separates the dreamers from the doers, the hopeful from the unstoppable. The people who hit their goals, they're not the ones who always feel inspired. They're the ones who act, even when they don't. They've built habits that move them forward on autopilot, even on the hardest days. So when the spark fades and the noise of the world makes quitting sound tempting, remember your promise to yourself. It's not about how you feel in a moment. It's about honoring the commitment you made when you were clear, focused, and determined. Because that discipline, that's what lifts you when nothing else can. And here's another lie we often fall for: that success requires massive, dramatic leaps, that only bold, extraordinary acts create real change. We trick ourselves into believing, if it's not a huge move, it's not worth it. If it doesn't feel groundbreaking, it doesn't matter. But that's not how growth works. Imagine standing at the base of a mountain, eyes fixed on the peak. The summit looks miles away, so far, so impossible, that you don't even take the first step. You freeze before you've even started. You wait, you overthink. You let fear make excuses sound like logic. But here's the truth. You need to tattoo on your heart. Success is not found in a single moment of glory. It's built in the invisible daily choices, the ones that feel too small to matter. Until they do. Because those tiny steps, they compound, they stack, they snowball, and one day they become momentum, they become mastery, they become the very life you once thought was out of reach. Too many people are waiting for the big break, for the perfect day, for a sign from the universe. But the ones who win, they're not waiting. They're working, they're moving, they're taking that next small step, today. So remember, those tiny, invisible steps, they're not wasted, they're not meaningless. They are the very path that leads you to greatness. Because if you spend your life waiting for some massive, magical moment to appear, you may be standing still forever. The truth is, success rarely arrives with trumpets or fireworks. More often, it comes quietly, disguised as 1,000 small steps that feel like they barely matter. Imagine this. You're climbing a mountain, not by sprinting or leaping, but simply placing one foot in front of the other. Some days the path is steep. Some days it's foggy, and you can't see more than a few steps ahead. But with each step, no matter how small, you rise. You edge closer to the summit. And here's what most people don't realize. You won't always feel your progress. Day by day, it might feel like nothing is changing. You may look in the mirror and think, I'm still in the same place. But months, or even years, later, when you look back, you'll be stunned. You'll see how far you've come, how much higher you've climbed, not because of one heroic act, but because you kept moving, one small step at a time. That's the power of consistency. It's not about making a grand push once and expecting it to carry you to the finish line. It's about showing up every single day, even when it's boring, even when no one is watching, even when it feels like nothing is working. Think about a seed planted in the soil. You water it, you nurture it, and for weeks, maybe months, nothing breaks the surface. You start to doubt. You wonder if it's even alive. But underground, out of sight, roots are forming, growing deeper, anchoring stronger. That unseen growth? That's the foundation. Without it, nothing can rise. And that's exactly what your small steps are doing. They're building roots. They're laying the foundation for a future that will one day bloom, but only if you don't give up too soon. Every person you admire, every success story you've ever heard, follows this same rhythm. They didn't wake up one morning at the top of their game. They didn't snap their fingers and suddenly become world-class. They put in the reps, the quiet, unglamorous, repetitive effort that no one applauds. They took small, focused actions again and again, often for years, before anyone even noticed. And that's what most people forget. We only see the final result, the spotlight, the praise, the highlight reel. We don't see the nights they stayed up late, the early mornings, the sacrifices, the failures, the doubts, the days they almost quit, but didn't, because real transformation doesn't happen all at once. It happens in the grind. Waking up early even when you're tired, staying a little later even when you're drained. Doing the same foundational work, day after day, until it becomes second nature. That's where the momentum begins. That's where your rhythm is born. It's like rolling a snowball down a hill. At first it's small, slow, but as it keeps moving, it gathers mass, picks up speed, until it becomes unstoppable. That's what happens when you stay committed to the small things. You build something that can't be broken overnight. But here's the problem. Too many people give up too soon. They plant the seed, but walk away before it breaks ground. They roll the snowball a few feet, but abandon it before the slope kicks in. They want the shortcut, the overnight hack, the magic formula. But the truth? Anything worth building takes time. It takes resilience. It takes grit. It takes the courage to keep showing up, especially when it feels like nothing is happening. Because it is happening. Maybe not in the way you hoped. Maybe not as fast as you imagined. But deep down, beneath the surface, you are changing. You are growing. You are getting stronger. And when you keep going, when you trust the process, those small steps become the bridge to something massive. But only if you keep taking them. So when you feel like progress is invisible and every step seems small, don't forget why you started. You didn't begin this journey because it was going to be easy. You started because there was something calling you, a vision of a life. You knew you were meant to live, a goal that stirred something inside you, a version of you that you hadn't met yet, but believed in enough to start walking toward. That vision won't come to life through wishful thinking. It won't appear because you hope it does. It comes to life through action, and not massive, dramatic action, but small, consistent, disciplined steps taken over and over again. You have to embrace the process. You have to fall in love with the journey itself, not just the final destination, because the journey is where the real transformation happens. It's where you're tested, stretched, shaped. It's where your doubts show up, and where your strength is born. It's the space where you start to learn just how powerful you really are. Each small step is a quiet declaration. I can do this. I'm not quitting. I have what it takes. And when the big results arrive, and they will, you'll realize it wasn't some miracle or sudden breakthrough that brought them to you. It was the accumulation of effort, the steady climb, the quiet commitment, one foot after the other. You'll look back and realize every step mattered, every early morning, every late night, every moment of doubt that you pushed through. They were building something. They were building you. Because here's the thing, most people overlook. These small steps don't just build results, they build character. They teach you patience. They demand discipline. They develop a work ethic that becomes a lifelong superpower. If you can stay committed to the small steps, if you can show up when it's boring, when it's hard, when no one's clapping, then truly, there is nothing you can't achieve. Success isn't about luck. It's not a lottery ticket. It's when preparation meets opportunity. And preparation is forged in the quiet hours, in the unnoticed efforts, in those small, consistent choices you make when nobody is watching. So don't underestimate the power of that next step. Don't let slow progress make you believe it's not working. Every step is movement. Every step is momentum. Every step is laying another stone on the path to everything you want. Even if you can't see the finish line yet, trust that it's there, and the only way to reach it is one step at a time. So stop waiting for the stars to align. Stop waiting for motivation to magically appear. Stop waiting for someone to give you permission. Take that first step today, no matter how small it feels. Then take another one tomorrow, and the next day, and the next. Just keep moving, keep building, keep showing up. Because one day, maybe sooner than you think, you'll look back and realize that those small steps led to something far bigger than you imagined. Not just results, but growth, a new identity, a life rebuilt from discipline and persistence. Because here's the truth. Big results don't come from big leaps. They come from small, steady, intentional effort, done consistently. And when you commit to that, success isn't just possible, it's inevitable. But now, let's talk about the wall, because eventually you'll hit it. That moment when your body aches, your mind is foggy, and every part of you is screaming to give up. You know the one. We all do. That wall isn't just physical fatigue or mental burnout. It's every doubt you've ever carried, every insecurity, every excuse. It whispers in your ear, "You're not good enough. This is too hard. You should quit." That voice? That's not truth. That's resistance. So yes, that wall, the one made of doubt, fear, and exhaustion, it will come. You can't run from it. You can't avoid it. But you can prepare for it. Because what separates those who rise from those who retreat is what they do when that wall shows up. And trust me, it always shows up. It might appear in the middle of a dream that feels too big, or during a project that feels too overwhelming, or in the quiet moments when life hits you from every angle, and you feel like you've got nothing left to give. And when it stands tall in front of you, casting shadows over your progress, you have a choice. You can shrink back, or you can dig deep and say, "Not today." And here's the truth. Breaking through isn't about brute strength. It's not about powering through like a superhero. It's about something deeper. Resilience, grit, the stubborn refusal to quit, the quiet courage to keep going, even when every cell in your body is screaming, "Stop." That wall? It's built brick by brick from every doubt you've ever carried. What if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? What if they're right? What if I'm not cut out for this? Those doubts can freeze you. They can make you hesitate. Worse, they can convince you to walk away before you've even tried. But here's the part you must never forget. Those doubts, they're not real. They're illusions, reflections of fear, shadows of insecurity, and fear is the trickster. It wears the mask of logic. It whispers like caution. It disguises itself as being realistic. It says, "Don't take that risk. You're not ready. You've got too much to lose." But fear only has one mission, to keep you exactly where you are. In the comfort zone, in the familiar, in the small. And your comfort zone, it's cozy, but it's also a cage. Because growth doesn't live there. Success doesn't bloom there. Dreams don't take root there. Everything you want lives outside of comfort. And the only way to reach it is to walk straight into the fear and do it anyway. Now let's talk about something else that builds that wall higher than ever: excuses. I'm too tired. I don't have time. I'll start tomorrow. Sound familiar? We've all said them. Because excuses are easy, they feel safe, they let us off the hook. But let's be honest, excuses are just lies in disguise, lies we tell ourselves so we don't have to face the discomfort of growth. And the more you stack those lies, day after day, the thicker that wall becomes. And before you know it, you've built your own prison. So, the real question is, how do you break through? How do you tear down that wall made of doubt, fear, and excuses? The answer? It's simple, but not easy. Consistency. Not in big dramatic bursts, but in small, relentless strikes. Consistency is the hammer. It's not one swing, not 10, but swing after swing, day after day. You show up when you're tired. You show up when you're discouraged. You show up when nobody sees you. When nobody claps. When it's just you and your inner voice, battling it out. That's how the wall begins to crack. Consistency is not glamorous. It doesn't trend. It doesn't show up in highlight reels. It's the 5 a.m. alarm when all you want to do is hit snooze, but you get up anyway. It's the extra hour at the end of the day when your body says no, but your purpose says just a little more. It's not the celebration, it's the grind. It's not the applause, it's the sweat in silence. And eventually, after all the hits, all the steps, all the effort, the wall breaks. And when it does, you'll realize it wasn't there to stop you. It was there to reveal you. So yes, the wall can break. And now you know. It doesn't fall with one heroic swing. It crumbles, one faithful, consistent choice at a time, especially on the days when you'd rather relax, when comfort calls louder than purpose, when no one's watching, and no reward is in sight. Those are the days that count the most. Because consistency isn't just about physical effort. It's not just about action. It's about belief. You have to believe the wall can be broken, that your effort isn't wasted, that every swing, every push, every repetition is worth it. Because if you don't believe, if you stand in front of that wall thinking, it's too high, too strong, too much for me, then it will be. The most powerful tool you have isn't your strength, it's your mindset. What you believe becomes what you do, and what you do becomes who you are. If you believe you can break through, you'll keep going, even when it's hard. But if you doubt yourself from the start, you'll retreat at the very first sign of resistance. So when that voice in your head gets loud, and it will, the one that says, you're not ready, you're not enough, you should quit, you have a decision to make. Are you going to listen, or are you going to fight back? Because that voice, it's not truth, it's the wall talking. It's your fear, your insecurity, your past failures echoing forward. But your hunger for change, your vision, your purpose, your fire must speak louder. You have to drown out that inner doubt with the sound of your own persistence. You have to let your actions shout louder than your excuses. Every time you show up, every time you choose to try again, every time you push a little further than yesterday, you chip away at that wall and you come out stronger on the other side. You begin to realize something powerful. The wall was never made of stone. It was made of stories, of illusions, of limits that lived only in your mind. Because once you break through, once you face those doubts and keep moving anyway, you'll see the truth. The wall was a test, a mirror, a question disguised as an obstacle. It asks, how bad do you want this? Are you willing to fight for it? Will you keep going when everything in you begs to quit? Most people won't. They'll stop. They'll say, it's too hard and walk away. But you're not most people. If you were, you wouldn't. Still be here, still watching, still listening, still trying. And that, right there, is the first crack in the wall. So when the wall rises up to block your path, don't see it as the end of the road. See it as your proving ground. A challenge to rise. A final checkpoint before transformation. If you want your dream badly enough, if you're willing to endure the pain, push through the fear, and show up with consistent, quiet courage, that wall has no choice but to fall. Because walls don't break under pressure. They break under relentless purpose. And yes, there will be pain. There will be struggle. There will be moments when you feel like you can't take one more step. But all of that, it's temporary. It's the cost of progress, the price of growth. But what you gain on the other side, that lasts. The pride, the self-respect, the unshakable belief in yourself. That's what makes it all worth it. So don't stop, don't turn around. Don't let that wall be the end of your story. Break through it. Prove to the world, and even more, importantly, to yourself, that you have what it takes to go the distance. Because on the other side of that wall is everything you've ever wanted, and more than that, it's the version of you that you were always meant to become. So yes, breaking through the wall matters. But what truly transforms you is everything that happened on the way there. We all dream about the finish line, that sweet moment when we stand at the summit, looking down at all we've conquered. We picture the promotion, the recognition, the applause, the freedom, the financial peace. That one moment of victory we think will make it all worth it, and that's okay. That dream, that vision, is often what pulls us out of bed in the morning, It gives us a reason to keep pushing through the dark. It's the light at the end of the tunnel. But here's the truth that too many of us forget. The outcome is not everything. In fact, it's just a tiny sliver of the story. What really matters, what changes you, strengthens you, prepares you for whatever comes next, is the process. You see, from the time we're young, we're taught to chase results. Get the A, win the trophy. Land the job. Cross the milestone. Check the box. But what if all that chasing is blinding us from the most important part? Because if you're only focused on the outcome, you're missing the point. You're ignoring the one thing that builds the person who can handle the reward when it finally comes. The journey. The journey is where you grow. It's where your character is formed, where your grit is tested. It's the late nights, the early mornings, the missed parties, the moments of doubt when you showed up anyway. In a world obsessed with instant gratification, we crave shortcuts. We want faster, easier. Hacks, tricks. But real success, it's earned, not downloaded. There's no fast lane to greatness, no button to skip the grind. The path to real, lasting transformation, it's paved with consistent effort, tiny wins, painful setbacks, and relentless belief. And here's the paradox. The goal, the shiny thing you're chasing, is just a moment, a snapshot, a flash, and once it's over, it fades. What lasts, what stays with you, is who you became along the way. That process, that's your legacy. That's your identity. Because the journey isn't just where you learn new skills. It's where you uncover your power, where you realize what you're truly capable of. It's where the strength is forged to not just achieve success, but to sustain it. Anyone can be excited when they're one step away from the goal. But what about when the finish line is miles away? What about when the scoreboard says 0 and the results don't reflect the effort? That's when the process becomes everything. That's when you have to trust, not in instant results, but in delayed returns. You have to believe that if you keep showing up, keep learning, keep grinding, the outcome will come. Too many people quit just before their breakthrough. They work hard for a few weeks, maybe even a few months, but when the reward doesn't show up on their timeline, they walk away. They tell themselves they failed, but the truth is, they stopped too soon because success doesn't follow your schedule. It doesn't show up because you deserve it. It comes when you've earned it, through patience, faith, and an unbreakable commitment to the process. So here's your reminder. Fall in love with the grind. Trust the climb, because the moment will come. Yes, but the journey? The journey is where the magic happens. So when the finish line feels invisible, when the destination seems too far, too uncertain, that's exactly when consistency becomes your greatest ally. Consistency isn't about knowing the outcome. It's about showing up even when you don't. It's about committing to the process, day after day, whether the results are obvious or not. Imagine walking a long, winding road in the dark. You can't see the end, but you keep moving forward, one step, then another. Not because you can see the destination, but because you trust that it's there. That's what consistency is. It's not glamorous. It's not about grand gestures. It's not what people post on social media. It's quiet. It's steady. It's real. And it's the single biggest thing that separates those who dream from those who do. When you choose consistency, you choose growth, not overnight, but over time. You become stronger, more focused, more resilient. You start to develop habits that serve you long after the finish line. You build self-trust, brick by brick, by doing the right thing even when it's hard, even when no one is watching, even when you're tired of waiting. And here's the secret that few people understand. The outcome? That's just a reflection, a snapshot of the process you've been living. It's a moment, but the journey is what molds you. It's where your character is refined. It's where you find your inner grit, your determination, your quiet strength. And once you've embraced the process, once you've learned to find joy in the discipline itself, you become unstoppable. At that point, the outcome becomes secondary. Why? Because you're no longer doing it just for the win. You're doing it because it's who you are now. You've become the kind of person who shows up, who finishes what they start, who keeps moving, no matter what. And here's the beautiful irony. People will only see your victory. They'll see the success, the highlight, the achievement. But they won't see the nights you stayed up late. They won't see the mornings you dragged yourself out of bed. They won't see the tears, the self-doubt, the days you almost quit, but didn't. But you'll know. You'll remember. And that knowing, that private understanding of what it took, that's what brings the deepest sense of pride. Not the trophy, not the applause, but the knowledge that you earned it. So the next time you find yourself obsessing over results, pause, breathe, and come back to the process. Because the process is where the real transformation happens. It's where you become the person who can handle the result when it arrives. It's where you're equipped with the mindset, the tools, the resilience to not only reach success, but to sustain it. Remember this: you can't control every outcome. Life will throw curveballs. Plans will shift. The path may change. But there's one thing you always control: your effort, your discipline, your consistency. You control how you show up, how you respond when things get tough, how you keep going, especially when nothing is guaranteed. And if you keep showing up for the process, if you fall in love with the daily work, the results will come. Maybe. Not when you expect. Maybe not how you imagined. But they will come. And when they do, you won't just be ready. You'll be transformed. Not just because you reached your goal, but because you became the person who could. So after everything we've said, after the talk about dreams, discipline, growth, and grit, here's the most important reminder of all: don't chase the result. Don't become so obsessed with the finish line that you forget why you started. Don't let the outcome distract you from the work that actually builds it. Chase the habit. Chase the routine. Chase the discipline of being consistent every day. Every moment, especially when it's inconvenient. Because it's the process that changes you, that sculpts you, that turns you into the kind of person who's not only worthy of success, but ready for it when it finally arrives. And when you fall in love with the journey, when you truly commit to the daily work, the outcome? It takes care of itself. But there's another piece of this puzzle, one most people overlook: accountability. It's not flashy, it's not fun, it's not trending on social media, but it's absolutely necessary. Because without accountability, your dreams stay dreams, just words on a page, just plans that never see the light of action. We've all been there. We set bold goals. We feel inspired, fired up, ready to change everything. We journal. We make vision boards. We tell ourselves, this time will be different. But then, life happens. Distractions creep in, comfort whispers, and little by little, our ambition gets buried under the weight of tomorrows that never come. And why? Because when no one's watching, it's easy to let things slide. It's easy to tell yourself that skipping today is no big deal, that missing one rep, one step, one task won't matter. But it does. It matters more than you think, because each moment is a brick in the foundation of your future. And when you skip today, that crack grows. Tomorrow gets easier to avoid, then the next day, and the next, until what started as a small slip becomes a slow fade, until momentum is gone, and you're back at square one, not because you couldn't, but because you didn't hold yourself accountable. That's what accountability really is. It's the invisible thread that keeps you anchored when no one else is around. It's the internal voice that says, I said I would, so I will. It's easy to talk about commitment, harder to live it. But accountability, that's the line between intention and integrity. Maybe it's waking up early when your bed feels like heaven. Maybe it's staying late when your body says, stop. Maybe it's choosing effort over comfort for the 100th day in a row. No one else will know if you skip. No one will scold you. But you will know, and that's what matters. Because the hardest person to be honest with is yourself. And that's why accountability hurts sometimes, because it demands honesty. It forces you to look in the mirror and admit, I'm the reason I'm not there yet. It's easier to blame your schedule, your past, the weather, your IT, circumstances. But at the end of the day, it's you. You are responsible for your actions. You are responsible for your progress. And yes, you are responsible for your consistency. And when you fall short, when you skip the work, own it. Not to shame yourself, but to remind yourself of your power. Because the moment you take full responsibility, you take full control. So if you truly want to succeed, if you want to be consistent, if you want to reach the top of the mountain, you set your eyes on, you must do one thing. Hold yourself to a higher standard, even when no one is watching, even when it's hard, even when it hurts. Because that's what separates the dreamers from the doers. And you didn't come this far to turn around now. You came to rise. So once you've decided to hold yourself accountable, you need to back that decision with unshakable standards. These standards, they're not flexible. They're not when convenient. They are the line you draw in the sand. Your standards are the non-negotiables, the principles you refuse to compromise on, no matter how tired, how busy, or how hard life gets. Whether it's waking up at a set time, completing a daily habit, or hitting a target you promised yourself, you set the bar, and you refuse to dip below it. No excuses, no shortcuts, no justifications. Because those standards, they're more than rules. They're your compass, your internal guide that keeps you aligned with your values even when the world around you wavers. And one of the most powerful tools to reinforce this kind of discipline? Write your goals down. Seriously. Take them out of your head and put them where you can see them. Why? Because when a goal stays in your mind, it's just an idea. But when you write it down, bold and visible, it becomes a commitment. Make it real. Make it visual. Put it on your mirror, on your desk, on the lock screen of your phone, wherever it takes, to keep your mission front and center. And don't just write the goal, write the why. Remind yourself every single day of the reason you started. Remind yourself of what's at stake. Remind yourself that this isn't a game, this is your life. Because when goals fade from sight, they fade from focus. They become part of that dusty pile of someday tasks we never get around to. But when they're in your face every day, they feel urgent. They demand action. And speaking of action, accountability isn't just about notes and affirmations. It's about people. It's about energy. It's about who you allow into your circle. Surround yourself with those who won't let you coast, the ones who challenge you, push you, call you out when you start to slip. The people who care enough to remind you who you said you wanted to become, even on the days you forget it yourself. Because let's face it, motivation won't always be there. Some days it will vanish completely. But the right people in your corner, they'll remind you why you started. They'll lift you back up. They won't accept your excuses, and you'll love them for it. Who you spend time with matters, deeply. If you surround yourself with excuse makers, complainers, or comfort seekers, guess what? You'll slowly adopt their habits, their pace, their mindset. But when you're around people who are hungry, people who show up, who demand more from themselves, you rise with them. They raise your standard. They hold the mirror up. They don't let you settle for average when you were built for more. And here's the secret ingredient: mutual accountability. It's not just about them keeping you in check. It's about you rising for them too. It's about showing up not just for your dreams, but for the people who believe in you, who are walking their own path beside you. There's power in knowing someone else is counting on you. It adds a layer of drive that's hard to explain, but when you feel it, you know it. Still, at the end of the day, the most powerful form of accountability is the one between you and the person in the mirror. That's where it gets real. Every night, every morning, you have to look yourself in the eye and ask the question, did I do everything I could today to stay consistent? Did I honor the promises I made to myself? And here's the hard part. You have to answer honestly, not with a smile, not with a story, with the truth. Because that truth, that's where change begins. So when you look yourself in the mirror and ask, did I stay true to what I said I'd do? Today, if the answer is yes, great, keep going. You're on the path. But if the answer is no, don't run, don't make excuses. Don't sugarcoat it, own it. Don't justify why you skipped the work. Don't rationalize your way out of discipline. Just tell yourself the truth. I fell short. And then, make a plan to do better tomorrow. That kind of honesty, it's rare, but it's also what separates people who wish from people who win. Because here's the truth. You can't lie to yourself and expect to grow. You can't hide from your own reflection and expect to rise. You can't pretend effort is there when it's not, and expect real results. But when you begin holding yourself accountable, something powerful shifts inside you. You begin to trust yourself. You stop hoping and start believing. You know that when you say you'll do something, you will. And that trust, that belief, it's the foundation of real confidence. It's what allows you to take bigger risks, to chase bigger goals, because you know deep down, you have the discipline to follow through. Accountability builds self-respect. It's you saying, my word means something. My goals matter. My effort counts. And that kind of integrity, that inner commitment, that's what separates people who just talk about their dreams from those who actually live them. It's not easy. It never will be, but it's worth it. Because accountability isn't about perfection. It's about showing up. Even when you're tired, even when you're afraid, even when no one is watching. It's about refusing to lower your standard, refusing to give up on yourself, refusing to settle for anything less than the greatness you were built for. Because at the end of the day, no one else can chase your dream for you. No one else can carry your goal to the finish line. Only you. And that responsibility? That ownership? It starts with accountability, day after day, step by step, no matter what. And when you fail, and you will, remember this. Failure isn't your enemy. It's not a dead end. It's not proof that you're not enough. It's not a verdict. It's a teacher. Failure is a lesson, sometimes a painful one, but a lesson that brings you closer to the person you're becoming. But only if you let it. Only if you have the courage to keep showing up, the resilience to keep trying, and the consistency to keep building, even when it hurts. Think about that for a second. If you give up every time it gets hard, if you let every setback convince you that you're not cut out for it, how will you ever grow? How will you ever find out what you're truly capable of? Failure isn't the opposite of success. It's part of the same path. Every person you admire, every success story you've ever heard, they've failed, they've fallen, they've doubted themselves, they've had moments of weakness, fear, and frustration. The difference? They didn't stay down. They didn't let failure define them. They didn't make it the ending. They made it the beginning of their comeback. And yes, failure hurts. It stings. Sometimes it breaks your heart. It can shake your confidence, make you question everything. That pain is real, but so is your power. So is your ability to rise again, to stand back up, to try again, wiser, stronger, braver than before. Failure isn't final unless you quit. It only becomes permanent when you stop fighting. So, when you fall, and you will, you have two choices. You can let it break you, or you can let it build you. So when you fall, and yes, you will fall, you have a choice to make. You can let failure convince you that you're not good enough, or you can turn that pain into power. You can let the fall crush your confidence, or you can let it become the fuel that drives you forward with even greater determination. Because here's the truth. The question was never, will I fail? The real question is, what will I do when I do? Will you shut down? Will you walk away? Or will you rise, stronger, sharper, and more focused than ever? Because failure, as painful as it feels, is not the enemy. It's a tool. It reveals the cracks. It exposes the gaps. It shines a spotlight on exactly where you need to grow, and if you're willing to face it with courage, to lean into the lessons instead of running from them, you will emerge stronger. That's the secret few talk about. Anyone can stay motivated when things are going well, but what defines you, what reveals your true character, is how you respond when things fall apart. When you've given everything you had, and it still wasn't enough. When you feel empty, but still choose to show up. That's where transformation happens. That's where greatness is forged. Because failure isn't a wall. It's a detour, a redirection. And often, the path you never expected to walk leads you exactly where you were meant to be. Think about the times in your life when something didn't work out. The rejection that broke your heart. The plan that fell apart. The opportunity that slipped away. And now, with distance, you can see it wasn't the end. It was a blessing in disguise. That's what failure is. In the moment, it stings, it humbles you, it shakes your confidence. But over time, with perspective, you realize it was building you. The greatest mistake people make is letting failure define them. But you are not your mistakes. You are not the missed shots, the rejections, the setbacks. You are the person who refuses to stay down. You are the one who stands back up, who tries again.
Who chooses growth over defeat. Persistence, resilience, consistency. Those are the traits that define true success. Look at anyone you admire, athletes, artists, entrepreneurs. They didn't succeed because they never failed. They succeeded because
they kept going through the failure. They turned rejection into redirection. They turned loss into leverage. They turned no into not yet. And you can too, but you only get there if you stay in the game. You only find your greatness if you keep walking, even when the road is full of setbacks and the finish line feels far away. Because every failure is not the end. It's a stepping stone, a test, a training ground for your next breakthrough. But you have to stay consistent, even when it's hard, even when you feel defeated, even when no one else believes. Because consistency is the bridge between your dream and your reality. It's not luck. It's not talent. It's the decision to keep showing up. Especially when it's tough. That's the key that unlocks everything. So from this day forward, make consistency your non-negotiable. Hold yourself to the standard, no matter how hard the day gets. Force yourself to rise. Force yourself to act. Because you're not here to quit. You're here to win. In the end, it won't be the easiest path that gets you there. It will be the one you refuse to walk away from. Stay consistent. Stay committed. Your breakthrough is already on its way. If this message lit something inside you, don't let it fade. Let it be the reminder you needed. The wake-up call to stay consistent, to keep showing up, to own your goals, your discipline, your future. Because you don't rise by accident. You rise by choice. One step, one decision, one committed day at a time. So if you're ready to build the life you were born for, hit that like button to show you're in. Subscribe and turn on the bell so you never miss a message that fuels your mission. And comment below. I choose consistency. Let's rise together. This isn't just motivation. This is a movement. And you were made for more. We'll see you in the next one. Keep showing up.